Hey guys, welcome back to Chaos Core Tech. My name's Garrett, and today we're going to be making Claptrap. Now, I absolutely love the Borderlands games. I always found the games extremely fun, and the RPG elements in it were something that I personally really love. And honestly, just the comedy of it all. You know, comedy isn't something that you see in video games a lot, but this game had a ton of it, and one of the pillars of the comedy in this game, of course, was Claptrap. Now, I personally loved Claptrap. I thought he was hilarious, but I recently found out that a lot of people find him annoying. So if you're one of those people, don't worry, I won't annoy you too much. This will be the only clip of him, I promise. Now that that's out of the way, let's get into creating Claptrap. So in order to create him, I went into Fusion 360. But when creating models like this, I always work from the outside in. I start with the big shapes and then move inwards and focus on the details. And actually pretty much everything I did in this came from sketches. So in order to get the main body shape, I started with a sketch that was roughly the size of the bottom of his main body. And then I moved a sketch up a little bit farther to be the top of his body that's a little bit bigger because he is kind of an upside down pyramid type shape. Then I just used the loft tool to move from one to the other. And that gave me the basic body shape, and then I just went around with sketches, and I honestly just kind of eyeballed it. I pulled up some reference images that I think were concept art from the games, and they gave me a really good view of the front, sides, and back of Claptrap. I started sketching things out, and one of the powerful things about Fusion 360 and sketches is that it's really easy to move things around. And if you take the time to properly constrain things, which I don't always do, but sometimes I do, you can resize things very, very easily. So you can test it out and put it on there, extrude it out, see how it looks, and if you don't like it, just go into the sketch, change it, and the timeline will take care of the rest for you. So that's basically what I relied on for this model. And if you're wondering how I got the approximate sizes of some of the details on him, like the size of the eye or some of the panels on his front, I really just looked at the image, and obviously I knew how big I wanted Claptrap to be because that was the size of the body that I had already created. So I could look at the reference image and see just about how far down the eye is from the top of the model, and then how far down it is from the bottom, and then you can sort of get a rough size and work from there. And I basically did that with everything. And there were actually a few times that I pulled Claptrap up on the screen, used a caliper to measure a few things as reference points, and then worked out the math to figure out exactly how big certain things were. Now, if you know Claptrap, you know that he balances on one wheel. And obviously there are a lot of little pieces in there that aren't really conducive to printing. So this is where you have to fudge the model just a little bit to get it to print better and be more stable. If I wanted to, I could have went through and tried to make it as accurate as possible, but it would have caused a lot more work for my wife, and it wouldn't have been as important in the finished build for what I'm going for here. So what I did was I moved the body just a little bit downwards into the tire a little bit. And it's not super obvious that that happened, and that gives him a very firm base to sit on, so you don't have to worry about tiny little connector pieces that take the full weight of Claptrap. Now it's distributed over the wheel. And of course there are smaller parts down on the arms and the hands that have wide gaps and seem like they're connected just by a few wires. And printing at the scale that I am, those would just not come out, and they would not hold up anything if they did come out. So there are a few places that I just blocked over completely, and if you look closely at the hands, you'll notice that they're quite a bit departed from what his actual hands look like. But I think that was something that was necessary to make it print at this scale. But overall, they do look very similar. And then I intentionally left off some wires on the arms. I have a solution for that. I will talk about that in just a little bit. So when I was done modeling everything, I sent it over to Simplify 3D to slice it up, and then I printed it out on my Robo 3D R1 printer. I used Hatchbox PLA, and I printed the entire thing at a 0.1 millimeter layer height, and that was just to get quite a bit of detail on some of the smaller objects here. And I decided to print him pretty big to really show off some of that detail. Then after all of the pieces were printed, I handed this off to my wife, who spent a ton of time removing supports and filing and sanding and getting all the pieces clean enough so she could paint them. And there were actually a few pieces that did not print well, but she was able to break off clean and glue the ones that could be glued, and I just reprinted the pieces for the other ones. And I have fixed the models since then, so the files that you will be printing should print a lot better than the ones I printed. So huge props to her. She put in a ton of work on this guy. to make him look as good as he does. Then after all the sanding and the gluing, she went to painting this thing. She started with a filler primer just to kind of fill in some of the layer lines and make them a little bit less visible and allow the paint to stick better. And then she went to the airbrush to paint on the main yellow color of the body, and then moved on to some acrylic paints with just normal paint brushes. With those, she painted on a lot of the details of the main body, the arms, and the wheels. Then she began the process of weathering Claptrap, and that is making it dirty so it appears like it does in the game. Because leaving a model that is perfectly colored in oftentimes looks weird because we're used to seeing them in a dirty environment. So she went through and strategically placed a few black smears here and there, a lot of smudges, and then she even took it back to the airbrush to kind of lightly mist over areas to give the full effect of it being weathered. And then of course she applied a nice color to the base as well. Then there was one more step, and this goes back to the wires on his arms that I talked about earlier. Now, at the scale that I was printing him, which is pretty decent sized, those wires would just not come out very good at all. So my wife had an idea, and this is what we went with. I have some wire, just some really thin wire that I use with Arduino projects and stuff like that, that we can snip and glue in place, and that's what we did. And I think that provides a really nice effect. It gives it a little bit more of a lifelike feel because it's actual wire there, and it's also nice because if this wire gets bumped at all or anything like that, the wire will move instead of a printed part breaking because it's so tiny. Then after she was done with everything, she actually sprayed this with a satin clear coat. And that was just so we could get a little bit of shine on it. It makes it look a little bit better, but it's not super shiny because we don't really want him to be glossy. But you do want the eye to be glossy. So what my wife did is she went in with fingernail polish. And you'll have to forgive me, I don't know anything about fingernail polish, but I'm assuming there's some sort of coat that you put on the fingernail polish that's clear because it didn't add any color there. It just made it really, really glossy. So some sort of glossy fingernail polish coat. And I think it looks really cool. Then after all that work, we have the finished Claptrap right here, and this thing looks freaking amazing. Like I said, there was a lot of hiccups in this process. We actually started this thing back in September, and it was planned to be something before Printmas, but you know, my wife really wanted to put the necessary time to make this look as good as possible, so we moved it back, and it paid off ridiculously. I'll put some close-up footage here so you guys can see the finished product. Alright guys, well I hope you enjoyed this model, whether you like Claptrap or not. I'm definitely glad to have this back there. I'm going to have to make some space on my shelves behind me here, but you know, I'm actually pretty proud of this one because this is by far the most detailed model that I've ever created in Fusion 360. You know, I spent a ton of time just going around adding little chamfers here and there, adding nuts and bolts and little panels just to add every last detail that I could see on Claptrap because I really wanted this thing to look cool. Hey, so this is future editing, Garrett, and I just realized while editing that my wife captured a ton of great footage showing off her painting and everything like that, and I really did not do it justice while talking about it. And I actually have about a 10-minute video clip that I'm going to be putting up on the second channel along with the full modeling video. So I will put links to those down in the description. If you're interested at all in how she paints and does things like that, it's a great little video clip. And it's pretty amazing because I sped all the video clips up about 10 times their normal speed, and it's still like a 10-minute long video clip. So she puts in a ton of work, and I really think this Claptrap shows off her skills well. So make sure you check that out. Link is in the description. Okay guys, well if you want to print one of these for yourself, links to the files are down in the description, and if you're wondering about any of the equipment that we use to create this, I will put some affiliate links down there as well. And if you have any questions, just leave a comment. I'll do my best to answer it. Alright guys, well you know what to do. If you like this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up and get subscribed below. I'm putting out new modeling videos every Wednesday. And then leave me a comment. Let me know if you like Borderlands, if you've even heard of Borderlands, if you like Claptrap or not, or if you think he's the most annoying thing you've ever seen. Also, if you'd like to get in before these videos are created and see progress pictures as I print and as my wife paints and everything like that, you can follow me on Instagram or Twitter at ChaosCoreTech on both. We post pictures on these things pretty frequently. Okay guys, well thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.